started. So hi everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. Really excited to be chatting to Stefan from VYN. But before we do, just a couple of things to run through. I'm Katy, I'm the Fashion Foundry Director. Just a couple of things I want to mention before we really get going. Everybody's mics should be on mute. If you can just try and ensure that they remain on mute. The event is being recorded, so just make sure that we've got clear communication. If you've got any questions, we'd love to answer them. We'll make sure we save some time towards the end of the event. Just drop them in the chat box as and when you think of them, and we'll make sure we answer them. So just to tell you a little bit about Creative Entrepreneurs Club and Fashion Foundry, for those of you who don't know. Creative Entrepreneurs Club and Fashion Foundry are both based in Scotland. We sit underneath the Future Economy Company. Creative Entrepreneurs Club is really about connecting creative entrepreneurs, connecting people, supporting them, upskilling and really empowering the creative community. We've got a global reach within the Creative Entrepreneurs Club. There's loads of free stuff going on at the moment. Membership is free. We've got free one-to-one sessions with industry experts. So I really recommend having a look on that website. Lots of amazing things going on there. Fashion Foundry has been running since 2012. It runs an incubator course for fashion designers in Scotland, offering lots of support to enable designers to launch and grow their brands. We are looking at how we can extend that support to the wider community across fashion, textiles and accessories. So watch this space, check us out on fashionfoundry.co.uk. We are working on a new website at the moment. You'll also find us on Instagram, Fashion Foundry. So check those two things out. Lots of amazing stuff going on. So I kind of move on to the main event and chatting to Stefan. So Stefan and I actually have known each other for a number of years now. So we both worked at Reese together. I was the production director and Stefan was head of men's accessories. So known each other for a long time, kind of lost contact for a little while, but was really excited to learn about Stefan's new venture. And I thought it was a brilliant concept. And I thought, why not share it with our community? Because I think it's really inspiring and I think there's something to be learned from it. So Stefan, I don't know if you want to start by giving us a little bit about your background and how you've ended up where you've ended up.
Yeah, thank you, Katy. So I studied industrial design in Switzerland, and that's where I met Catherine, my co-founder. And we both did like a footwear project as our final project. So we kind of got a bit of a shoe bug there, I guess. And our path then kind of went in different directions. I went to London to work for Harry's of London, a luxury men's startup at that point, where I worked just with the creative director. Basically, we were a team of two and we built the brand basically from ground up. Catherine at the same time was also in London with Nicholas Kirkwood, so we had like a bit of contact there. And then through my boss at Harry's, who was former Armani, she kind of got in contact with Armani, and then she moved to Milan and worked for Armani for a few years while I continued to go to Kurt Geiger, and then ended up at Reese for like 4.5 years in the end. So my whole footwear and accessory span is about like 15 years now in London, through Harry's of London, Kurt Geiger, and then Reese doing all men's accessories. And Catherine, on the other hand, was at Armani for 3.5 years, I think, and then with Swims in Oslo, Norway, for about 5 years, where she did all their collections. And then kind of probably it was about 3 years ago, we both had a bit of a, not necessarily a crisis, but just kind of thinking about like, what do we actually want to do? Because we designed about probably 30-40 seasons altogether, where you start with mood boards, which is great, and then you get new colors and you get new ideas, and you do a few new shapes on footwear, and obviously it's summer and winter, and then you do boots in winter and you do loafers in summer. but it's kind of like a bit repetitive. And we started thinking about like, well, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing it? And do we love what we're doing at the moment? And we were both a bit kind of, well, obviously margins are always like problematic because the big guys, they, you know, you need to make money on it. I understand that. But we kind of found ourselves in a bit of a situation where we thought like, well, how do we kind of go on from where we are, and what would we want to do as footwear designers, and also kind of thinking about the environment, the longevity of a product. How do we give somebody a better product for the price? How do we engineer a shoe that's really like just an amazing, great shoe? And that was kind of like where VYN started as an idea, where we thought longevity, we thought materials, we thought like, what can we do to make the product last longer and not have like the usual kind of problems with things that are like heels that kind of like rub off fairly quickly after like maybe 12 months or something, and then the shoe is somewhat not that usable anymore, even though the upper is still great. So we started kind of like thinking about it, and how do we go about building basically a better sneaker. That was kind of like the initial idea we were thinking
and was
of.
the sustainability side, Stefan, one of the core values that you kind of started off with? Was that kind of your train of thought back then? Because this has taken you 3 years, hasn't it, to get to where you are now?
It has. Yeah, it was like the project changed a lot during those 3 years. Like the first thing that actually sparked this was we looked at a leather. They're not even the manufacturer, but they do like a very small collection, and they basically have completely traceable leather from basically calf. They call them VYN projects in Switzerland. They were also in Switzerland for some reason. That was so that's, they kind of literally have like a calf to skin, and you can trace everything.
Oh wow! Okay.
We thought that's a really nice concept, and then it kind of like, for shoes, obviously leather is always like, well, where does it actually come from, and how is it sourced, and all that. It's always a bit murky and hard to kind of get to the nitty-gritty. So that was like, basically that article was kind of almost like a little inspiration point where we thought like, well, can we do this, like, and how would we do this with footwear? And then also think about like the sustainability aspect of all the pieces that go into it. And then the longer we looked at it, more looking into longevity, because longevity is also obviously a much more sustainable idea than like continue producing and throwing it away. So like I said, like it has changed from something that was maybe at the beginning also a bit dreamy, so to speak, because we had sustainability in mind. We wanted to source materials that were like traceable, 100% this and 100% that. And we had to come away a bit from the idea, because footwear has like 250 components, and it is quite hard to actually get to the bottom of all of it. Doesn't mean like we're still searching, we're still investigating everything, of course we're doing, but it has kind of like, I wouldn't say lowered the bar, it just has like the focus has shifted to more longevity piece in terms of what we're using, and kind of looking at everything needs to be recycled, everything needs to be this, everything needs to be that. We just want to make like a great shoe that lasts very long and has like a long lifespan.
Which is the key to sustainability. You know, it's you want the product to last for as long as possible, and not to end up in the bin. You know, so and you know, and further down the line, I guess the traceability you'll get better at, and you'll have more control over where exactly everything is coming from. But you know, to your point, 250 components, and you know, going right down to the source is a massive task. But good to know that that's something on your radar and something you want to do in the future. So Stefan, I know you've got some slides that you want to share with us to kind of show us give us an understanding of your inspiration and how you got to where you got to. So I don't know if this is a good point to start sharing your screen with everybody.
I will. So this is just about a little introduction into what VYN is, what we believe in, how we get to where we are today, basically. So like I said, the main focus was kind of getting away from the linear buy, wear, bin your product, because that's most footwear today. In reality, that's what happens to it, other than if it's bench made and you can replace things, and you really go back to almost like the craft of making shoes in an old way. So we try to adapt basically an old way idea into a new way idea with a sneaker. So a lot of ideas are actually coming from the old way of doing things, but then we adapt it into a sneaker where it's a lot more modern and kind of like time appropriate.
Yes.
So we came up basically with our philosophy of wear, care, and repair. And we wanted to enable basically every person who buys our shoe to do that themselves. So everybody obviously can wear a sneaker, everybody can care for their sneaker, but the repair piece was always a bit like, how do you actually repair a sneaker? And that was kind of like the first question we had to ask ourselves as well. And again, it was oops, sorry.
All right.
It was a bit of a process, of course. Again, like I said, we were working on this for 3 years. So it all started with the research piece of asking our friends, looking in their closets, also talking to experts and saying like, well, where are the weak points? Where can we actually improve? How do we improve it? And then in the end, what do we as designers then want it to look like and be like?
Yeah.
So the first things you see there is the research piece, where we went to closets and just saw like, well, like I said before, the heel piece is something that just, you obviously walk heel to toe, and the heel piece is always gonna fail first, so to speak. And again, to kind of draw the parallel to bench-made shoes, you have a top piece, you can just replace and replace and replace. In reality, if it's a handmade shoe, and even the sole you can completely replace if it's Goodyear welted. So we just started with that and thought like, well, how do we do the heel piece? And then the next thing was like, we did a lot of sketching and ideation and finding inspiration from people who maybe do something similar, or we saw something random that kind of like clicked with us, and we're like, okay, maybe we can adapt that to the heel piece. And how do we do that?
Yes.
We just deconstructed a lot of things. We kind of cut shoes open, cut them in half, looked at like, where are layers, what can we do? And then in the end, we found actually an industrial designer friend helped us kind of design this piece here.
Okay, yeah.
Which 3D printed, which is like the first click mechanism of like the two pieces.
Oh, for the heel was the first clip.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that would actually work. Before that, we kind of had like a lot of questions about, will it fall off? Will it hold? Like, which pieces can we actually replace that it's safe to use, and so on and so forth. So
did you develop
that was
that yourself then, Stefan, or was that working with the factory? I mean, because that's
so this
technical, isn't it?
Yeah. So this piece we did with an industrial design engineer friend of Catherine.
Okay.
Volunteered some time, which was great, and he basically developed that with us and for us, and then we 3D printed it to kind of see in actual material how that works.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, that was the first point where we found ourselves to think like, this might actually happen. Because before that, there was always like,
yeah, that must have been a really exciting moment, you know, after all that kind of research, getting to that point. And you must have learned so much, Stefan, you know, to opening up all of these shoes and understanding how they've all been constructed. And course, there's an element of that in the places that you've worked before, but your technical knowledge must have really come on since doing this project, right?
Of course, we like every day you learn something new and you're investigating things a lot more. Also, because it is our product.
Uh-huh.
We want to know what it is, and we want to know that we can actually do what we say we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just another thing we're trying to sell to someone.
Mm. Yeah.
So then from there we kind of went on to Italy. I through my contacts in the industry found a great developer in Italy who was I think we were mad when we saw him first. He probably thought like these guys are crazy, but he has a bit of a crazy streak, and with people, especially also in Italy, it's kind of important obviously to talk to them, and out of a sudden like you can see the switch kind of come on and they fire up. And that literally happened in the meeting. We had a coffee and we showed him the little 3D piece and how it connects, and out of a sudden he was like, let me think about this. And since then he basically has opened up the doors to go to an amazing factory in Tuscany who also works with all the big luxury brands, and he basically slotted us in there to do development with them.
Because I think that's the biggest challenge, isn't it, when you're setting up a brand?
Absolutely.
When you've worked for big companies before, you've got the buying power, but when you're setting up on your own and you've got no quantities or no business really behind you as history, it's hard. It can be hard getting them to buy into your idea and getting them on side. So that was an amazing opportunity, and to be able to guarantee that quality level right from the offset is a fantastic opportunity. But it's such a brilliant concept, which is why I was so keen to share your story. So are all of the trainers, are they all being made, Stefan, in Italy?
Yeah, everything's made in Italy. Okay. Components are all sourced in Europe.
Okay.
So again, also from a sustainability background or thought process, we want to keep things fairly close. So we don't need to like transport leather from the other end of the world into wherever. So we have a German tannery that delivers to Italy. We have the cork is coming from Portugal because they have the cork trees and they have the biggest cork production in the world. And then everything else is basically made locally somewhat in Italy. The sole unit we designed and developed with Gommos, which are in the Marche, so a bit further south near Ancona. And we kind of through David, our product developer, we basically had this opportunity to work with all these people because he works for a lot of people and has 40 years in the industry and of course knows a lot of people, and that was really the only way to get anywhere because as you know, if I, Stefan Mathys, pick up a phone and call a factory, they'll be like, who are you, what are you doing, why are you like.
So David, how do you know David then, Stefan? Is this an old contact from?
Yeah, basically I work with David just for a small product run in one of the companies I worked with before. We clicked and we understood very quickly like what's what, and there was no like going around and talking things, and it was always like very straightforward and we could just talk straight up. So I think we had a very mutual understanding there to kind of like how we work.
Yes.
When I thought about our project, I was like, he was basically the guy to do it. I felt like.
Okay.
And again, like I said, we showed him the little piece, and then the fire started, and
So he essentially but he's believing in it. It's not like you're paying him or you promised him anything.
We pay him. Of course, we pay him like a retainer to an extent because, like, he's doing so much work for us. of course, he's basically the first employee of VYN, so to speak.
Okay.
Um, because we also, of course, we pay for the whole process, so like the development and everything. We there's a bit of money in it. We had to, but at this point, when it came to prototyping, Catherine and I, we were very clear about if we just have obviously models and sketches and things, it's a concept.
Yes.
And we can maybe try to go to somebody with a concept and tell them, look, it will work, but it also wasn't good enough for us in reality. We both felt it had to be a product we can test and see if this idea actually works, and if not, we
functionality is top priority, isn't it? So you have to do so many wearer trials and tests to make sure that your idea will go through and will be successful.
Exactly.
Okay, so great to have David on board then, and opening all those doors for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we couldn't have done it without the help of him, obviously. And then, so we basically then did like a little wear test program. We made like 12 pairs, gave it to friends. Some were actually like somewhat professional foot models. Some were more like friends that had the affinity of like actually wanting a sneaker like that for a long time. So there was a bunch of people that just wear tested them from basically September, October. So now we have basically about eight months of like track record and see what happens to it and how it works. So it was very interesting to follow the people and get their feedback. And obviously a lot of it has already moved into what we're now doing with the first production run, which is just opened up for pre-order 2 weeks ago. So it's kind of, it's going slowly, but it's like, it's a great, I think for us, it was always clear that we wanted to do this right. And it's very important for us to start this in a way that we of course believe in it, but then also that everybody else kind of can come on the journey and also help us further develop the product as well. That's important.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry.
No. Let's go through this page.
These are basically the main components we worked on, and we think we made one of the best. Well, it's certainly the best shoe I've ever made in my 15 years in the footwear industry. So we're proud of it, and we believe in it, and really.
And I think that is so important. You have to be fully behind what you're doing and passionate about it for it to work, don't you, Stefan? So the fact that all of your years' experience, this is the best product you've ever done is brilliant. You've got so much passion, and it's great to hear that.
Yeah, you definitely. The thing is, you obviously have to try things and find a bit of like the rhythm of what you actually want to do. That's always the journey, so to speak.
Yes.
But now it has really become what we want to do, and it's great. It's great to be there, really. We're very happy with it. And
it's a long journey launching a brand, so you have to believe in it, and you have to be passionate to kind of go through,
Absolutely.
There
were, in those 3 years, we probably had 4 or 5 times for sure when we were like, it's not gonna happen, like it doesn't work, or all the ideas we had before, it doesn't quite work, it's too complicated, it's too this, it's too that. Obviously also in your head you start thinking like, well, is that ever gonna happen? So now that we actually have the product, it's very exciting, and we're like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, but it took you just to get there. That's a really important message to anybody listening that's thinking of launching a brand. It's not something you can do overnight, and there will be tough times along the way. But like I said before, I think it's the passion that kind of drives you through, and believing in what you do.
Yeah. If you want to do it, you will do it.
Yeah, exactly. So Stefan, take us through this page. This looks really great.
So one of the main points is, of course, we have the replaceable heel piece that you can exchange because the heel wears out first. So we made that exchangeable. And again, in reality comes from a Benchmade shoe that has a top piece that you can replace, and then eventually the sole will wear out and you will replace the whole sole unit, which we are not quite there yet, but we're already working in the background as well to kind of see how can we do more, so to speak, even like add more longevity to it. Then the key point was, of course, the leathers, the upper and the lining leather. One of the key points is also a lot of people save money with linings, for instance, because you don't necessarily see it. But the lining is actually the material that comes in contact with your foot, that absorbs the moisture, that gives it back into a shoe tree. So it is very important. It's basically almost like the skeleton structure of the shoe.
Yes.
So if your lining is good, if your upper leather is the most amazing thing, it actually doesn't necessarily help that much.
Yes.
So we invested in like a really nice lining leather that really has like great properties and can then absorb and give off moisture, and again, longevity in mind. And of course, the upper leather is in the same vein, a very nice upper leather that can be cared for, and you can easily kind of take it through years and years and years of care.
Okay.
Then one of the other things that happens a lot with sneakers is obviously the heel rubs off and you have a hole in it. Again, that's a lining problem, but we even said like, well, make it a design feature, add a little branding piece to it, and then double up the lining on the heel piece so you can kind of like wear it for even longer, so to speak.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the cork and sole, it was important for us to, a lot of footwear these days obviously has like EVA blown insoles that in reality is just a little plastic with bubbles in it that you normally after a few months almost like can throw away because the density has gone, like it doesn't spring back anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything for your in-shoe climate either, because it will start keeping like microorganisms will stay there and like sweat and everything. So it's actually not that great, other than like if you slip in the first time, it's like very comfortable and you're like, okay, that's nice. So we adapted almost something from a Benchmade shoe, which has a cork filling on the inside, and put in a cork insole from Portugal, which over time of wearing it will actually give you a personalized footbed because you're the one standing in it, and the cork will adapt to that footprint basically you have and will support you within that. And again, cork is something that is recyclable, so cork is something that is very
great material, cork. Yeah.
So it's a very good material for an insole, and it's also like the density will never, it always like springs back, and then once your footprint is in it, you actually like fit into like a beautiful like footprint or personalized footbed. So, and then on the here, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, Stefan, when you were talking about other brands and the materials you use, presumably that's all because of price. And really, you're not thinking about price, you're thinking about the functionality and the longevity of the product and trying to choose the best materials to deliver that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about like right now we really do not want to make compromises for money, because it's not what the brand stands for, and it's not what the DNA is. We just want to make the best shoe and improve it, and then hopefully that will just go on into like making better and better and better product and better decisions. And so really like learn from every edition we will make. We'll have something new or something different that we can kind of redevelop or reiterate or look at it again once we get feedback. And it is at the moment it's really like we want the customer that buys now in this early stage really to become part of who we are and become part of the journey. And we want feedback. Like if something isn't up to standard,
Yeah.
or people will find different things within their habits of wearing it or caring it. So we will find out what will happen, and it's going to be very exciting to get that feedback and be like, oh, okay, we didn't think of that, or how can we develop it further so we can integrate what's coming back.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point. You know what your brand stands for, and you've got your brand identity, but it's important that through your brand journey that you adapt. Because I think if you don't, you're not going to keep up. So I think it's really important to listen to your customers, but still stick with what your brand's all about. But you can adapt along the way.
Of course, yeah, it's a journey.
It's a journey. It is.
Never ends. It kind of, you think it starts somewhere, and it probably started even earlier, and then you think it goes somewhere, but it will take a different path.
And I think you need to be willing to adapt,
yeah,
and to succeed.
Absolutely.
Okay, so this is the close-up of the heel repair we've got at the bottom here, Stefan, and this is something that you can do yourself as a customer, change the heel.
Exactly. It was very important to us that basically once we hand over the shoe, we want to give everybody the tools to wear, care, and repair it themselves. Because we know it from ourselves, like, do you have the time, or do you want to go to a cobbler, leave your shoe there for like a week or two, then need to go get it back somehow, and like you pay a bit of money for it and everything, which is fine. Obviously, like, service is done, and that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. But we wanted, especially for the sneaker, we just wanted it to be like wear, care, repair, and all basically done by you.
Yes, yeah.
So the customer is really emboldened, hopefully, wants to do that.
Yeah. And appreciates it more, I think, if you're looking at yourself.
It's like, to be completely honest, like, I'm not like, I'm in the footwear industry for 15 years, and I haven't necessarily taken a lot of care with some of my shoes. Mm-hmm. I admit that happily, but since I have my wins, and I'm a tester, I'm a 42, so it was good to have a pair myself and actually like see what happens over time. And I have become like a bit more, well, obviously through the journey and everything, we're like, well, we should really also take care of things. We need to start living what we want to do with the brand. And since I've done a few cleans, I've done like a bit of cream, and like, you find your rhythm, and you find like it's so rewarding to have like a clean shoe after a clean, and like everything is done to where it needs to be again. It can breathe again, and it can like put the shoe trees in it, like it just holds the shape so much better. It's like just everything makes so much more sense once you have the shoe in your hand and all the tools you need to actually.
Well, it's encouraging you, isn't it? If you've got everything there, it's going to encourage you to look after.
Exactly. So that's what we're trying to do. So just to go to the close-up real quick, I will show that in live later on when we're back on full screen.
Perfect.
But you basically have, so the heel piece is a separate piece. You can put it has a little slot on the inside. You can put a coin in it. You just twist the coin, and then the heel comes loose. You basically can go in with your hand, basically take it off, and then you have a matrix of holes in there. So pins and holes is basically how the mechanism works. Then you put the new piece on the floor and just align it with your shoe, and then you step in and kind of step down on it on a hard floor, and then it's repaired, or you have a new heel piece on it. Mm-hmm. So it's as simple as that. It will take you like, I don't know, a minute or so to kind of do that. So it was always like, we always said, like, it needs to be as easy as like anything you can do.
Yes.
So people actually do it.
Yes. Yeah. So when you buy the shoes, the sneakers, Stefan, does it come with the extra heel piece?
So every sneaker also in the future will come with an extra heel piece pair.
Right.
So you will actually have like a second lifetime, so to speak, already.
Okay.
With your buy.
Mm-hmm.
And then within wear, care, repair, you can obviously then add on like a care set that is specifically made for the sneaker, and for the repair you can then add like other things, like we will do laces, we will do heel pieces by itself, we'll do insoles. So all the pieces you can exchange in the sneaker you can also then add on to your basket, and kind of, or
Okay.
over time when you feel like, okay, now I've worn my cork sole for like 2.5-3 years, maybe you want
Oh,
a
great.
fresh cork
At that
as it
point, you
becomes.
can then contact VYN and say, look, I need a new cork sole, and you'll just send that out. Brilliant.
Exactly. So it kind of, it will, obviously we're developing all these strategies at the moment to kind of like get into, because then it obviously becomes into stock and SKUs and all these more back end things.
Yes.
But that's kind of like the idea we're starting with right now. And at the moment, what we're doing is really selling basically a first edition
Okay.
of the black and white, and that package actually comes with a set of shoe trees included, with a care set included, and with the extra heel pair. So it's basically the wear care repair philosophy already all in the package. It's about £55 right now, which is really a steal. Like we're doing it because obviously we want to get the product out, but we also want to give our customers just great value for the money.
Stefan, I missed how much you said there. Sorry, how much?
£355.
5. Okay.
At the moment, it's only in Swiss francs we can pay, because of, it's more like boring back end technicalities, but it's around £355 if you
Okay, if you're buying it in pounds, great. Yeah. Okay, lovely.
So that's kind of the package you can buy now on VYN.1. And then yeah, that's basically our journey so far. We are in the middle of the pre-orders. Like I said, we opened the window for pre-orders to then deliver in September.
So September you're delivering, okay.
Yeah. So everybody who buys now will basically support us as a brand to build it and build the first 500 pairs of shoes, and we will develop. Then obviously we're already like talking further and trying to get the business going, so to speak. But this is the start.
Got to a very exciting point, Stefan. I would love to see the live kind of heel coming off when you've got a minute. But great to see your contact details there as well. So if anybody does, well, as I said, we'll answer some questions towards the end of the event today. But if there's anything you think of, I know, Stefan, you're happy to answer questions after today if anyone wants to contact you directly. So just take a note of all the contact details there.
Definitely. So yeah, if you have any questions or anything, just let us know. Follow us on Instagram at VYN.1sneakers, and you can contact me anytime if you have questions. So I'll just stop sharing that. Oops.
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
So let's have a look at the shape, Stefan. It'd be great to see how it works in reality.
So here, as you can see, there's a little slot there. So you can take basically any coin that's like pounds or euros or Swiss francs or whatever you want. You can put it in that, and you basically just twist it. So you just heard that click.
Yeah.
And then you basically, that's what you get.
Wow. Okay. And what material is the heel made of? Is it the same as the sole, Stefan?
So the sole has a bit of softer TPU mix because of flexibility.
Yes.
And then this is a bit not necessarily a harder piece, but it just has a different mix in it to obviously have the heel abrasion we need for the piece. So that's kind of how you repair your sneaker. It's as simple as that.
Okay, great. And do you do the heel pieces in different colors, or it just comes in the one?
Well, right now it will be in this navy.
Okay.
But we of course have already like played with different colors and different mixes and different ideas.
Yeah.
So in the future, it will definitely become feature piece where you can maybe buy also different colors if you want to, and we're even developing like other pieces that you can exchange, that you might be able to change color and things. But this is all future music, so to speak. We start with the collection we have right now with the edition, and then going further we will of course try to adapt and offer more ideas and more
yeah. And then how would you, probably a difficult question to answer, Stefan, because it depends how much somebody wears their trainers, but in an ideal world, how much longer would you like to add on to a sneaker's life through all the different components that you can exchange over the years?
So I think the part that will probably at some point wear down is the fore part of the which we haven't tested that yet, but we will also do a real test of this with Satra, which is the body that kind of does a lot of footwear testing. They're basically the specialists, and they have like basically a foot that kind of does all the walking for how many miles you want.
Yes.
So we'll test that at some point once we get the final mixes and the final shoes, which is kind of tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Catherine is in Tuscany at the moment to sign off everything. So and I can't obviously fly because it's we're still locked down. But in reality, we hope to add probably definitely 2, if not 3, maybe even 4 lifetimes to it, if possible. Fantastic. Because I think I wore my sneakers now, like I said, for 8-9 months.
Yeah.
The heel is obviously worn off a little bit, but it's not like too bad yet, so I don't need to replace it yet. And everything else looks still great with a little care. And then we hope it's like up to 4 times, but even if it's 2 times, we're already like on a good path, and then we can always look into how can we like adjust certain things, or if need be. Again, the journey starts, there will be a lot of input from different people, and hopefully we can just keep on improving it and redeveloping and looking at things and trying to really make it what we want to be.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just noticing that we've got a question in our chat box. So Stefan, I don't know if you can you see the chat box there? There's a question there for us, or for you, I should say. The hardest part in your startup journey and the lessons learned.
The hardest part. So one is, like we already discussed, is somewhat endurance. Like believe in your idea, believe in that you can resolve it because you want to. And once you set that goal for yourself, and you kind of just keep on hacking away, so to speak, on the things that are not quite right, and you pivot and you do something else and you start again, and you leave it on the side for like a month or 2, and it's a journey. And believe in it, believe in what you're doing, and again, find partners as well. Like Catherine and I, we both probably had certain points where we felt alone, also because like I'm here, she's in Switzerland, where you're personally thinking like, this is really worth it, do I really want to do it, what is in it for, like, why are we doing this? But if you have a clear like why and purpose of like why you're doing what you're doing, you can't stop at that point, right? You just keep on doing it, and it's important.
And that actually goes back to, I've been speaking to a lot of people recently about their purpose, their kind of brand's purpose, their vision. And I think once you've nailed that, it does really help with everything. I think until you've got to really get that, decide on what that is and believe in it and be 100% behind it, and that will help push you in everything, in every aspect of your journey. So yeah, I think that's a really big
lessons learned so far is there's always room to pivot. Like don't be afraid to change your mind. Like if you think like you want to go that way today, and that's great, follow it. But if you see like actually that will just end me up somewhere where I don't want to be, change it. Because there's no point just going in one direction because you think like that's the direction. There's always something else you can do. There's always something. Also, again, like if you start with like, oh, I want to be a knitting brand, and then in the end you go into the wool industry, let's say, that's the same thing. Doesn't matter. Or even if you go into like coffee, like what does it matter? Like as long as you will do your journey and you will end up where you believe in what you're doing, and that's really like where you want to be. Because again, then it also doesn't matter. Like right now, obviously we're making no money. Like we both have jobs on the side. We're like, luckily we have a team in Switzerland that also supports us. But again, they're all like, they have their own companies and
things going on. Yeah.
Like it's just like we're just, you know, doing things on the go. And obviously with here, I have a 5-year-old, so I'm taking care of him to an extent. My wife is full-time working, and there's always things that happen. It's life, right? So you just move on step by step, and just don't lose focus if one step doesn't go to plan. Just shift your focus, or there's also no goals to reach in reality other than you being happy with what you're doing and comfortable. So I think that's kind of to that point. Then the next thing is big brand intentions for sustainability and repairability, just greenwashing or genuine interest in reduce the production of apparel. What do you think is the future of the footwear industry, especially?
5 different questions on here, Stefan.
Yeah.
So big brand intentions for sustainability and repairability, which I guess we probably covered, just greenwashing or genuine interest in reducing production of apparel. I mean, I think that's really what your brand stands for, 100%, isn't it? I think that's what and you want to do more in the future, in terms of longevity and, you know, trying to think outside the box and how you can keep these trainers going. And then what do you think is the future of the footwear industry, especially in the wake of COVID-19?
That is a very good question.
Yes.
Like I said, like I'm now kind of lucky enough to do what I want to do, and I believe the concept we have is definitely something people will hopefully also adapt to an extent. Like if other people feel like let's do something similar or whatever, I'm like, great, let's kind of do it together and kind of.
And you said this to me yesterday, and I thought that was great, Stefan. You said, you know, I would love to be able to inspire more people within the footwear industry to do this, you know. So this is not just about you and your success. You want the whole industry to change.
It's a small, you know, again, it's one small step in a direction we think is what we want to do and what we believe in. And I hope a lot of people will see that and be like, actually, why not? And I hope other people will start maybe looking into like how they can change the way too of just producing the style in yellow, green, and blue, instead making it like somewhat timeless and somewhat looking into how is the longevity of that piece and what is it used for and why are we doing it, and kind of go a bit back to almost like, again, I kind of like draw the parallels to like Benchmade footwear, where things were really well made and people cared for it and you could repair it. Like we kind of need to step back a bit on the gas of like what we're consuming and how we're doing it and how we deal with the end of the use cycle, and how do we like adapt to that. Like a £5 t-shirt was never really viable in reality. It just wasn't. But it was there and it was available, and of course people buy it. Like it's also not, I'm not like judging or anything, it doesn't matter. It's more about like where do you personally want to sit in that.
Yes.
And it's it is what it is.
Do you think, Stefan, that post COVID-19, or we're obviously still in it, but do you think people's buying habits are changing? Do you think that the footwear industry will struggle? What's your general kind of thoughts on the situation that we're in now and how it will impact your industry?
It's it's very hard to say. Obviously, I think the everything has changed.
Yes.
Everything has changed. Anybody who thinks we will go back to normal, that's out the window. We will not go back to it. It's not. It can't be, and it also COVID right now won't allow it because it's still there. It won't go away until if there's a vaccine or drugs or something that kind of helps mitigate what the risks are. So I think there's a lot of soul searching to an extent going on in everybody. Also the time we have now, or the change of pace for certain people, or the change of scenery. Like for me, being a dad for the last 3 months has been very different, of course, than like running around and going to fairs and doing collections and things. So it has shown me a lot of like myself, and I think a lot of people have probably experienced the same thing, that you kind of start feeling a bit like, what was the rat race for? Why did I do it? Is it viable? Do I love it? Do I not care so much? Am I rather working from home? Out of a sudden, like other possibilities pop up, and you've already lived it, so to speak, and you will just start to think about it for yourself, like, how do I want it to work? Rather than like, oh, work is there, I need to go there and do this, and then kind of like start the race again. Yeah. So it's going to be a very interesting time, I think, going forward, to see how people think about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't answer the footwear question.
But no, actually, there's a really good question I want to come to, and I don't know if you've thought about this, Stefan, or not. It's, what do people do with the heel, the old parts of the trainer? Can they send them back to you, or are they going to landfill?
Yes, we, like right now, what we're trying to do is, like I said, we're still, Catherine is literally there tomorrow to sign it all off. So we'll have the final product and how it goes into production at that point. So we will start testing the pieces and actually see the final mix of what that piece is. Mm-hmm. Right now, my understanding is that it can be recycled because it's all TPU. So you can, in reality, domestically recycle it. What that means is the other question. I'm completely honest there as well. But in reality, you should be able to put that back into a cycle where it basically gets ground up and gets reused.
Recycled.
Again, well, reused as a granular piece. But again, this is all to be finalized.
It's work in progress for you, really, Stefan, isn't it? This is all work in progress.
Absolutely.
That was a really good point to kind of to address and to think about going forward. And then a question here from Anika. Hi, Stefan. Do you have any plans to expand the range of styles you're offering?
Right now, I say no, because what we believe in, we have a very modern and classic design that will kind of basically work for a very long time in like different qualities and different things. That said, of course, we will at some point look into expanding into maybe other styles or having something else. But right now we're very kind of conscious also of like, we don't want to do like 10-15 styles, because like what, like for us personally, like how much does that matter? Of course, we were also narrowing our customer reach maybe within that, but it's something we have to mitigate, like during, again, it's all work in
Yeah, and I
progress. So,
like it,
so
Stefan, because you're trying to develop your core range here, aren't you? You're trying to develop your core range. You're testing the market. You're listening to feedback, and I guess you need to grow quite organically. It's not like you've got massive funds behind you to kind of do this massive big launch with this huge collection. And I think it's safer being a new brand to start slowly and to adapt, learn your market, and to slowly grow.
yeah.
But it's just really about nailing those kind of core products and kind of growing from there.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm conscious of the time because we're now at 10:29 according to my laptop. I think there was just one more quick question that we missed. And this is actually something I asked you yesterday, Stefan. Are you open to stocking your products in other shops in the future? So we talked about this yesterday. Are you planning a direct to consumer model, or will you go down the wholesale route? What's your kind of sales strategy?
So one of the things we somewhat almost excluded from our thinking was going in a traditional wholesale kind of route, because the shoe itself, because it has all the components, it's an expensive shoe to buy for us out of Italy. And again, we have all these reasons to do it there, and that's what we want to do, and that's what the brand is. So there's no way of like doing this differently. So if we would go normal wholesale, the shoe would probably be around the £600-700 mark in a shop. So that's basically double for what we're selling the whole package right now. So in reality, that's not really that viable for us.
It's challenging on the market when you've got low margins, isn't it? I mean, if you're working on a low margin already, to then go down the wholesale route is
exactly tough. It's just not really viable.
And
but we are definitely
money into the product, wouldn't you, than to be putting the money through the sales channel, you know?
Exactly. So what we're trying to do is having this pre-order window right now, where we engage with people almost like directly. Like most of the people that we sold about 80 pairs by now in the 2 weeks, so that's great. But it was basically us just being on the phone to people and calling them. And Catherine had an event to sell some in her home. So we'll probably continue with that model, keep it very local, very close to our hearts and to our people. Obviously, still opening it on the website for anybody to buy. But then in the long run, what we will try to do is somewhat almost like a little showcase model, meaning we'll have probably little showcase units we can put into retailers. And then within the showcase units, there's actually no stock behind it. It's just a unit where you can try on different combinations or different sizes and things. Again, this is all in process. And then basically you can order it online, and then we will give, obviously, the shop we'll sort it with like QR codes and things, so the shop gets like a certain percentage of that sale into their pocket. But in reality, we are still controlling the stock, and kind of we don't actually, also the retailers don't necessarily need to have a lot of stock from us. So again, these are all models we're looking at right now, but it's a very it's an interesting
it's an interesting time and an exciting time. I've really enjoyed learning about it all, Stefan, and I'm super excited for your launch and just to watch your journey from here, really. Now, just to let everybody know, Stefan's going to be taking over our Instagram account next Thursday. Did we agree, Stefan?
I think it is.
Next Thursday, so look out for it. We've got little short videos coming from Catherine at the factory this week. She's doing some recording for us. I think it'll be really interesting. I certainly love footwear factories. They're so technical and interesting. So watch out for that. I think we've all really enjoyed today. I hope you guys have all enjoyed it as much as I have. And yes, sign up to follow Stefan on Instagram. He's quite active on there, on the VYN Instagram page. And yeah, thanks very much, Stefan. I've really enjoyed it, and I think we've got some really positive, good comments actually coming through. Amazing product, really exciting. So I think it's just such a great concept, and if anybody can learn anything from this, then brilliant. So thanks again, Stefan, and thanks everybody for joining us today. It was really good. Thank you so much. Right, Stefan, I'll give you a call. All right.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Take care.